Well, guys, welcome to the Dream Lab. Thank you for joining us. We are here with another dream, so come on up and share.
So, I dreamed I was interviewing for a job at the current company that I work for, but they wanted me to take a test. I asked how long the test would be because I had another interview within the company at another office. They gave me the test, which was a written test and was 4 pages long. As I was taking the test, the person that interviewed me said they would take me to Angela because this would be the next person I had to interview with. I didn't finish the test because they wanted to take me right then. As I was walking out, it was raining, and the person that was taking me to the interview ran ahead of me, and he got out of my sight. Then it stopped raining, and I passed a former church member and her 2 sons, Elijah and Caleb. I then found out that Elijah was going to drive me to the interview. I got in a red truck, and Elijah was driving. His brother Caleb was in the middle, and I was on the passenger side. Then I woke up.
All right, so let's see if we got that right. So you're at the job that you currently have while you're awake, but you're interviewing for a new position. And as you're interviewing for the new position, they say they have a test for you. And you ask them, how long is the test? Because I also have another interview at the same company with another group. And they give you the test. It's a written test. It's 4 pages long. And you start to take the test. And then Angela comes, and she's supposed to take you to the next interview. No, your next interview is with Angela. So somebody's going to take you to Angela. All right, so somebody's going to take you to Angela because that's where your next interview is. So you weren't able to finish the test, but you go ahead and you start to go. And now it's raining outside, and the person gets ahead of you. You lose track of them. And this person that was a part of, formerly a church, in your church, and their 2 sons are there, Elijah and Caleb. And they say, well, Elijah is going to drive you to the interview. And so you get into a red pickup truck. Elijah is driving, his brother Caleb's next to him, and then you're on the passenger side. And they're getting ready to take you to the interview, and that's when the dream ends.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Okay, so go ahead, title your dream. Come up with your focus, come up with your sub-focuses, a couple details. Diagram it out and then write out your interpretation and try to write it out word for word. I know I say this periodically in the Dream Labs, but it's really helpful for you to learn how to communicate a dream if you take the time to write out your interpretations when you can, because often you don't get that opportunity. Once you're ready, go ahead and start your video up again, and we'll let you know what we got here at the lab. All right, so welcome back to the lab. Let's start walking through this one. First, what did we come up with for title? The interview. What's the focus of this one? The dreamer, yes. Alicia. And our sub-focuses. First interview. All right, and our other sub-focus? Yeah. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you could do this, but for groupings, you could just have all the details around the first interview off of that bubble as details, and then all the details about the second interview off of that bubble as details. And it just kind of keeps them separated thought-wise. Or you can do it by just keeping the progression in some way so that you just remember what's attached to what. That's really the key thing. Where does this fit in the story? Because you want to make sure that the interpretation follows the same plot as the dream. So let's do details about the first one. Yeah.
Unfinished test.
So test.
4 pages.
You got 4 pages. And not done. Okay? These are details. And anything else important about that one? Okay, what are our details for the next one?
Rain?
Rain. Yeah, and the rain is important because that causes her to lose track of her guide who's taking her to the second interview. Right? Anything else?
Red truck.
How about the guy?
The guide. And what else about the red truck?
Yeah.
The drivers.
How about the fact that she wasn't driving?
Okay, and I'm going to underline Elijah to point out that Elijah was driving. Yep.
Does the fact that they were old church members, is that a detail?
Yeah, so that they were church members. It is a detail. It helps you understand. So this is because in the dream, it's not quite clear. Is the whole dream literally about a workplace situation, or is the whole dream about something that she's doing? So that's not quite clear, but it's making it very clear that this is a spiritual meaning to this interaction. Yeah. Anything else important to put on our diagram?
Caleb.
What's that?
The other dude was Caleb.
Caleb, yes.
She was heading
Very
to
good.
Angela.
And she was heading to Angela.
In just as a second, so it's a cliffhanger,
Yeah.
just because it kind of goes along with it.
Yeah, and it's interesting that neither one completes. So, now, what is an interview? What would that represent in a dream? I'm sorry?
Opportunity?
An opportunity, something new. There's a potential for something new that's coming. It's an opportunity to do something new or to do something different. Now, is it an interview at a different company?
Why was it the same?
It's all at the same company. So if this is, because we're not quite sure yet, is this talking about a change in her position at her current company? Like, is there a literal portion? Or there's enough metaphor that makes you question that, but there's not enough that says for sure it is or it isn't. So you're going to need revelation on that to go one way or the other. But whether it's literally about her current job, employer that she's at, or whether it's saying that what she's doing right now, that what the new thing is, fits into the same thing. It's one way or the other, there's that connection that is clear that's in the dream because it's an interview at the same company. Does that make sense? So if you don't have clear revelation on whether or not, well, this is about your workplace and you're going to have a new opportunity, two different opportunities are going to come up. You want to say, well, there's something that you're doing where there's going to be an opportunity to be working in the same lines, but maybe in another position, in the same area, but maybe in another position, or having a different role. So figuring out what that meaning is. Is it saying that the second opportunity is actually in the church? And if that's what it's saying, then why is it an interview at the same company? Or is it saying that it's going to require spiritual qualities that are being represented to be able to see that opportunity or to be able to get to that opportunity? So those are the types of questions. Like that's the type of question you need to ask because that's drawing. Okay, so there's something there's a reason why. Why this and not that? Why an Elijah that comes from church background versus an Elijah that she used to work with? Has a very different meaning. So that in my mind, I went towards, okay, because of that, because their church background, I'm going to look at a spiritual meaning of Elijah. I'm going to look at a spiritual meaning of Caleb. I'm going to look at a spiritual meaning of a red truck
Okay, gotcha.
to get to a natural interview. Opportunity or something new. Now, for the first opportunity that comes up, what's required to get there?
Test.
A test. There's going to be a test, and she's not going to have time to complete it, right? Before the second opportunity comes. So that's what that piece is. I mean, could you go into details? Why was it a written test? Why was it 4 pages? I don't have anything clear on the 4 pages. Is it that it's not just about one specific thing, but it's an all-encompassing test, like the 4 corners of the earth? Because sometimes 4 can represent creativity, but sometimes it's the 4 winds of heaven just means all of it. The 4 corners of the earth just means all of it. So is it a broader type test? I'm not quite sure, but those are thoughts. Those are questions that you ask. So you ask those questions and you think about them, and you're looking for where Holy Spirit lands. Like, do you feel that yes from Holy Spirit? Well, that's what it is. I don't have that on that. I'm not sure. So I leave it open, and because it's a detail, if I don't figure out exactly why it's 4 pages, I just ignore it and give her what I know. Now, if I didn't have a sub-focus, then you have to say, you know what, this part of the dream, I don't know what that means. I think I might know what this piece means, because you only have a partial interpretation. A partial interpretation is very different than an incomplete. I mean, you don't have the full picture. You don't know every single detail. It's normal to not get every detail. And actually, it's better for the dreamer if you don't give them every detail, because the Holy Spirit fills it in. You give them your pieces, and they know from their life, or when they start going through it, they're like, oh, that's what that was. And sometimes if we try to figure it out too much, we over-define it, and we don't actually have revelation on how we define it. We cause them to look over here because this is how we interpret it, and it's being interpreted over here, and they might miss what's actually happening, realizing that that's what God was talking about because we pointed them in the wrong direction. So that's why it's better to leave it a little bit vague than be too specific unless you have clear revelation. Now, if you got the revelation, you get as specific as you possibly can, right? But don't feel like you have to. That's a very helpful thing. Rain. So, and that's one of the things that you ask, trying to figure out, is this going to be a positive meaning of rain, or is this going to be a negative meaning of rain, or whatever element you're talking about? How does it affect the movement of the dream? Did this help or did this hinder? It's a hindrance. So it's going to be a negative meaning of rain. So a negative meaning of rain is a time of difficulty. It's not a time of refreshing. It's more a time of difficulty. It's a time when stuff is just happening. It's short-lived, right? But, there's just circumstances that come up that make you feel like you weren't able to get to the opportunity you thought you had. But what happens when she loses the guide? The red truck. So why red? Redemption? Wisdom? Wisdom, why a truck? Why not a car? Why a truck? Why not a van?
She needed a pick-me-up.
She needed a pick-me-up. Yeah, she doesn't need a pickup truck. Yes. So,
In a low time.
encourage. Take courage from wisdom. What's going to be driving the courage that she receives from wisdom? Prophetic. And what's coming along for the ride?
Faith.
Faith in the promise. God said it. It may look impossible, but it doesn't matter. God said it. We're getting there. Right, that Caleb, Elijah. Do you see those two? All right. So who wants to put this all together for a dreamer? Brandon, come on out, man.
And I apologize, I didn't get your name.
Alicia.
Alicia, okay. All right, so Alicia, what I got from the dream was, and this can mean in ministry, like what you're doing or at work, but there's coming to opportunities. It seems like one of them, is going to be right up front. It's a test, and just like in the dream, it seems like when you go through this, it is going to be a quick thing before the second opportunity comes. So I see that, what you're doing, and where you're looking for this opportunity there, it may look impossible. And there's going to be things that maybe come that, get you off focus. But God's going to remind you through his word and through that promise that he's going to get you there, and he's never left you nor forsaken you, right? And that you will get there. You will get that promotion. You will get that, what God has for you.
Amen. That's awesome. That's great. See how we just put all the pieces together and then followed the plot line of the dream itself. Yeah. And the fun things about dreams are dreams often they will have one meaning, but they can often have layers of application. So you could have a dream that's about you, but it's also about what's happening in your church at the same time. So remember, there might be layers to the meaning of this one. So that's good. Yay, God. Well, guys, thanks for joining us for the lab. Hope you got something out of this one. That was a fun one with lots of good teaching points. We'll see you next time.